Have you been thinking about investing in short-term rentals, but maybe you feel like you don't have the time or knowledge to get started? If so, then this is the perfect video for you, because today we're going to discuss how short-term rentals work, the difference between short and long-term rentals, what to know before investing in short-term rental property, how to get started investing like me as a passive investor. If you're new here, I'm Dr. Jeff Anzalone, a periodontist from Louisiana that's on a mission to get you out of the rat race with passive income streams. You can download the passive income guide I put together for you below the video. Now, when it comes to real estate investing, it can be confusing as to which asset class to choose from. Personally, I started off in multifamily real estate syndications as at the time it was one of the more popular asset classes. But the more that I learned, the more that I realized that there was other ways to diversify, especially when it comes to cash flow. In some cases, short-term rentals, daily or weekly, can provide even better cash flow compared to long-term rentals. When evaluating short-term rentals and long-term rentals side by side, STRs can often net 2 times more versus LTRs. Maybe this is why we're seeing trends such as in New York City, where there's actually more Airbnb listings than apartments to rent. Go figure. So let's start off by addressing the question, what exactly is a short-term rental? Well, a property is considered to be a short-term rental if it's rented out on average for less than 7 days at a time. And with the advent of online platforms such as Airbnb and VRBO, it's never been easier for anybody with a vacation home, a second home, or rental property to use those as a short-term rental. Many times an STR investor can make more money renting for short periods versus LTRs, as typically they can charge more and they can turn the property over quicker, getting in more renters. Now, let's take a look at the STRs and the LTRs investing side by side. Now, the most common ways to start investing in real estate are with both of these types of properties. Now, the first thing we're going to do, we're going to look at the differences and the similarities between the two. Let's start off with the income stream. So if you want a more predictable income, then the LTRs, the long-term rentals, may be your best option. Why? Because they can achieve this because most leases are usually signed for at least a year with a fixed rental amount. Now, if you own a duplex that rents out both units for $1,000 a month, then you can expect $24,000 a year in gross annual income. By knowing the potential income, it makes it easier for landlords to budget and qualify for financing. On the flip side, STRs typically have a more inconsistent income stream that's typically affected by seasonality, average guest stays, and the ADR, or the average daily rate. But on the other hand, the short-term rental market, it actually often has a higher income stream potential as well versus LTRs. Now, one of the top STR analytics providers, AirDNA, noted that the average annual revenue earned by STRs listed full time reached an all-time high last year of $56,000 a year. Moving right along to number 2, and that is financing. Obtaining financing from lenders is different when you consider both LTRs and STRs. As we previously mentioned, LTRs demonstrate a more consistent income stream with longer leases, thus making they're typically easier to finance versus a short-term rental. Also, they're able to get more competitive interest rates when it comes to traditional financing options with also a lower down payment. Now, there's actually 3 types of STR loans according to the AirDNA. The first one is an asset-based loan, and it's actually based on the income potential from an STR instead of looking at the borrower's income and their debt-to-income ratio. Second one is a cash-out refinance. And this is a cash-out refinance for primary residence or another investment property to raise funds if you wanted to purchase an STR. And the third one is your common HELOC or home equity line of credit that you can access accrued equity in a primary residence to use. So if you have a primary home, you can get this line of credit and you can actually use it to purchase an STR. Number 3 is the tenant turnover. Now, with LTRs, landlords can actually expect a much lower turnover rate versus STRs because of the longer leases. Occasionally getting stuck with difficult tenants could be a problem because they might cause major damage, which could exceed the deposit amount that you get initially. And number two, they could just refuse to pay rent, because depending on what state you own the property in, it could be hard to evict them. STR properties, they have a higher turnover rate because, again, their average length of stays, again, is between 5 to 7 nights versus LTRs. Most of the time, a credit card is obtained to pay for the stay whenever they're staying, plus covering any damages acquired during the stay. Because STRs focus on temporary tenants, the owners must constantly market the property to generate a consistent income stream. Number four has to do with exit strategies. A long-term rental investor wanting to sell their property with a tenant in place is limited to selling to another investor unless the tenant can be convinced to leave. Occasionally, attempting to sell a home with a tenant in place can be a major drawback. Now, cap rates tend to decline, which is called cap rate compression. So cap rates can go down when prices go up relative to the net operating income generated. This means that real estate investors are actually willing to pay more for less income. However, a short-term rental investor, they can actually choose the most profitable exit strategy when they want to sell. These owners can more quickly respond to changing market conditions as they're really not tied in with these long-term lease tenants. Now, because of this, they're able to sell to either other investors looking for a short-term rental. They could sell to long-term rental owners, or an owner-occupant that's actually looking for a primary home. Number 5 is lifestyle investing. Now, if you're wanting to enjoy your income property, then LTRs may not be your best option. They're not typically located in high-demand destination towns, plus they're occupied with long-term tenants, right? Because of this, you're not able to stay there because you have a tenant in place. Yes, they will provide income, but again, they're not available for your personal use. On the other hand, STRs can be used really at any time, and they tend to be in areas such as beach communities, ski resorts, and high traffic resort towns. Not only can you enjoy a cash flowing rental investment, but STRs is an easy way for you and your family to enjoy a great experience. Now, last but not least, let's talk about how to invest in short-term rental real estate. If you're considering investing in STRs, here's a few things to consider. Number one has to do with your goals. Now, as with any investment you're going to make, the first step is developing goals for you to take the necessary steps in achieving them. So for STR rentals, you've got to decide if you want a vacation home, but you need the income coming in to cover the cost before you retire. And you also have to decide on, are you looking to build cash flowing real estate portfolio, whether active or passive, or some other type of goals? You got to kind of figure out what your goal is. Now, once you answer these questions, then you'll be able to determine the next steps. So if you want a second home, then you've got to figure out, well, maybe you need to find a place that you would want to retire to and go visit. And then you start searching for properties there. You want a beach home. Okay, you start searching for beach houses. You want a mountain home. Start going, searching for mountain homes or whatever. But if your focus is on investing, then seeking the best investments in prime locations, yielding the highest ROIs is going to be your top priority. So again, figure out your goals and then you can start the process. Number 2, you need to get familiar. Whenever you pick the area that you're looking at, you actually need to get familiar with the local regulations. So whether you realize it or not, all vacation and STR markets are not created equal. In some areas, STRs aren't even allowed. So it's usually a good idea to hire a local real estate agent well-versed in regulations with their area market that can help identify properties to ensure your business venture stays on the right track. You're also going to need to find out about registration requirements, permit fees, obtaining a business license, and if there's a need to collect a lodging or rental tax to the local municipality. Number 3, you need to research markets. So whether you hire an agent to help you or not, you're going to need to understand what a good investment in the rental markets you're looking at in terms of a few things. You want to make sure you research the average occupancy, the ADRs, or the average daily rates. Take a look at the operating expenses, seasonal rates. What are the biggest draws to the area? And you want to look at the HOA terms. Do your own due diligence by researching sites, again, like Airbnb, and VRBO to determine what may be your property taxes, what are you going to have to pay maybe in insurance, and looking at the rental and the occupancy rates. Number 4, you got to run the numbers. Now, running the numbers is essential in the STR market, and luckily there's plenty of resources for real-time data such as VRolio, AirDNA, and Roofstock STR Marketplace. Those are the 3 biggest ones: VRolio, AirDNA, and Roofstock STR Marketplace. Some of the key metrics used to measure financial performance on those sites include the average length of stay, cash flow, occupancy, that ADR again, RevPAR, which is actually revenue per available room, and the good old cap rate. Be sure to factor in your maintenance and your property management company costs if applicable. And then number 5 is you make an offer. Whether you're using an agent or not, making an offer on STR property is really no different than making an offer on LTR property. You're going to need a written purchase and sale agreement, or PSA, including basic terms and conditions such as the property address, the legal description, the purchase price, if the property is being financed or if you're going to pay all cash, earnest money amount, any contingencies such as property inspection, review of the historical financial performance, so if the property is already used as an STR, and a financing contingency. Some other things that you may want to address are the specific date of the closing escrow, the date and time a seller has to accept the offer. Also, having an agent assess the asset and income value of the property is going to help you better understand if the offer that you make is in line or not with that particular property. And last but not least is the closing. Now, once an offer has been accepted, then you can begin the due diligence process by performing an inspection. If everything passes, then the lender will begin the loan underwriting process. Typically, the closing is handled by an attorney or title company, depending on the STR laws of the state that the property that you're buying is located in. Once this is completed, then you'll be able to take possession of your property the day of the closing, and you can actually start collecting rental income the same day it closes. And it's a good idea to make sure any bookings made prior to the purchase have all been turned over to you. You're also going to want to make sure that any advance deposits and down payments collected are accounted for on the closing statement. Now, another point to make that we can actually go back, we probably should have discussed this when we talked about the goals with real estate, whether you're talking about LTRs, STRs, or whatever, is do you want to be actively or passively involved with the rental process, with the investment process? Now, if you're a busy professional like me and members of my passive investor circle, then, as you know, your time is limited. It's for this reason that I've partnered with solid partners in the short-term rental space that can make investing extremely easy, because they're going to provide you with properties that have a solid cash flow. You still get the tax benefits and you still get the appreciation. Now, if this is intriguing to you and you want to learn more deals that I invest in and you're an accredited investor, make sure you join the Passive Investor Circle with the link below the video today. I hope to see you in the group. Take care.